The flames wanted her. 8 years old, trapped, screaming until her voice broke. Her father, a Hell's Angel, was too far away. The world watched and did nothing. But one boy moved. 13, homeless, invisible. He had nothing, no shoes, no family, no reason to care. He ran into that fire anyway. Glass cut his arms. Heat melted his skin. He didn't stop. He dragged her out 3 seconds before the car exploded. When her father arrived and saw his daughter breathing, he grabbed that burned, bleeding boy and whispered 5 words that started a war. You saved my daughter. Subscribe now. This story will break you and rebuild you. The scream woke Marcus Cole from a dead sleep. High-pitched, terrified, a child's scream. He was on his feet before his eyes fully opened, heart slamming against his ribs, breath clouding in the frozen air. December in Blackwater, Nevada had teeth, and those teeth had been gnawing at him for 3 days straight. Another scream. Closer now, Marcus ran. His bare feet slapped it against frozen concrete as he rounded the corner of the abandoned gas station where he'd been sleeping. 8 months on the streets had taught him to ignore most sounds, sirens shouting, breaking glass. But a child screaming, that was different. That was something he couldn't ignore. He saw the smoke first, black and thick, curling up into the gray morning sky like a warning. Then he saw the SUV. A black Escalade had slammed into a concrete barrier at the intersection. The front end was crushed, folded in on itself like paper. Steam hissed from the destroyed hood, and underneath flames. Small but hungry, licking upward, spreading fast. Help me, please, somebody help me. Marcus's blood went cold. A little girl was trapped in the back seat. Blonde pigtails, pink jacket, hands pressed flat against the window, leaving smeared prints on the glass. Her mouth was open, screaming, but Marcus could barely hear her over the roar of blood in his ears. He sprinted toward the SUV. Hey, he shouted, I'm coming! Hold on! The girl's eyes found his through the window. Blue eyes, wide with terror, tears streaming down her cheeks. The door won't open, she screamed. I can't get out. Marcus grabbed the rear door handle and pulled. Nothing. He braced his feet and yanked harder, putting everything he had into it. The door didn't budge. The impact had warped the frame. It's stuck, guy. The girl was hyperventilating now. Please, please, I don't want to die. You're not gonna die. Marcus forced his voice to stay calm. What's your name? Emma. Okay, Emma, I'm Marcus. Look at me, not the fire. Just look at me. Emma's eyes locked onto his. She was maybe 8 years old. Just a kid. A terrified kid who needed him to be brave. The flames were spreading. He could feel the heat on his face now, smell the gasoline and burning rubber. He had minutes, maybe less. Marcus ran to the driver's side. Empty. No one there. The driver must have been thrown clear or run away. It didn't matter. All that mattered was Emma. He tried every door. All jammed. Marcus! Emma's voice cracked. I smell smoke. It's getting inside. Think. His eyes swept the ground. Broken glass, twisted metal. And there, a chunk of concrete the size of a football. Marcus grabbed it. Heavy, almost too heavy for his thin arms. But desperation made him strong. Emma, cover your face now. He swung the concrete at the rear window. Crack, again, crash. The window shattered inward. Marcus dropped the concrete and reached through, ignoring the glass that sliced his arms. Blood ran down to his elbows, warm against the cold air. Give me your hand. Emma reached for him, but the seatbelt held her back. She tugged at it frantically. It won't come off. The button's stuck. Smoke was pouring into the cabin now. Emma coughed, her small body convulsing. Her eyes started to roll back. No, Emma, stay with me. Marcus spotted a jagged piece of metal from the broken window frame. He grabbed it and started sawing at the seatbelt. The fabric was tough, resistant, fighting him every inch. Come on, he muttered through gritted teeth. Come on, come on. The belt snapped. Marcus grabbed Emma under her arms and pulled. She was heavier than she looked, or maybe he was weaker than he thought. Glass cut deeper into his skin. He didn't care. Couldn't care. He dragged her through the window just as the dashboard erupted in flames. They hit the ground hard. Marcus wrapped his arms around Emma's head and rolled pudding distance between them and the SUV. 5 feet, 10 feet, 15. The gas tank exploded. The shockwave lifted them both off the ground and slammed them back down. Heat washed over Marcus's back like a wave of fire. He curled around Emma, shielding her with his body, feeling his shirt melt against his skin. Then silence. Marcus lay on the frozen pavement, ears ringing, lungs burning. Every inch of his body screamed in pain. But under him, pressed against his chest, Emma was breathing. She was alive. "You saved me." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You saved me." Marcus tried to respond, but no words came out. He just held her tighter. That's when he heard it. Thunder. But there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Not thunder. Engines. Motorcycle engines. Dozens of them. Marcus lifted his head. They came around the corner like an army. Chrome and black leather gleaming in the morning light. 5 bikes, 10, 20, 30. They filled the street, blocked every exit, surrounded the burning wreckage in a perfect circle. And on every back, every jacket, every vest, the same patch. A skull with wings, a death's head, the Hell's Angels. Emma stirred in his arms. Her eyes fluttered open, focused on the motorcycles, and something changed in her face. "Daddy," she whispered. "That's my daddy." The lead rider didn't wait for his bike to stop. He jumped off while it was still moving, letting it crash to the ground behind him. Didn't even look back. His eyes were locked on Emma, and nothing else in the world existed. Emma. The man was huge, 6'4", maybe 6'5", with shoulders like a linebacker and arms covered in tattoos. His beard was streaked with gray, his face weathered by sun and wind and years of hard living. But his eyes were the eyes of a father watching his world burn. "Daddy." Emma died for him, and he scooped her up like she weighed nothing. He crushed her against his chest, one massive hand cradling the back of her head, his whole body shaking. "Baby girl, my baby girl, I'm here. Daddy's here." The car crashed. Emma sobbed into his neck. "And there was fire, and I couldn't get out, and I thought I was going to die." "Shh, shh, you're safe now. Nothing's going to hurt you. I've got you." Marcus watched from the ground, too exhausted to stand. The other bikers had dismounted and formed a perimeter. Some were directing traffic away from the scene. Others were scanning the area, hands near their waists, eyes sharp. They moved like soldiers. Disciplined, coordinated, dangerous. The big man, Emma's father, finally looked up from his daughter. His eyes found Marcus. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then the man walked toward him. Emma was still in his arms. Each step was slow, deliberate, heavy with something Marcus couldn't name. He stopped 3 feet away and looked down. Marcus stared back. He knew he looked like hell, barefoot, bleeding, covered in soot and ash. His clothes were torn. His hair was matted, and he probably smelled like smoke and garbage. But he didn't look away. Couldn't afford to. On the streets, looking away was weakness, and weakness got you killed. "You pulled her out." It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir." "That car was on fire." "I know." "You went in anyway." Marcus didn't answer. What was there to say? The man crouched down, bringing himself to Marcus's eye level. Up close, the scars were more visible, a thin white line across his cheek, other through his eyebrow, a third disappearing into his beard. This was a man who had seen violence, who had dealt violence, who wore it on his skin like a second set of tattoos. "What's your name, kid?" "Marcus. Marcus Cole." "How old are you?" 13. The man's eyes traveled over Marcus, the bare feet wrapped in plastic bags, the torn jacket held together with safety pins, the hollow cheeks and sharp collarbones of someone who hadn't eaten a real meal in weeks. "You live on the streets?" "Yes, sir." "Parents dead and gone." Something flickered in the man's eyes, pain maybe, or recognition. "My name is Thomas Reed," he said quietly. "People call me Titan. I'm the president of the Nevada chapter of the Hell's Angels." He shifted Emma in his arms, never looking away from Marcus. "This little girl is everything I have. Everything. And you just saved her life. I couldn't let her burn." "No," Titan's voice cracked. "No, you couldn't, because you're not the kind of person who lets children burn." He reached out and placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. The touch was firm but gentle. "I owe you a debt I can never repay, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying." "You don't owe me anything." "Wrong," Titan shook his head. In our world, a debt like this is sacred. You saved my daughter. That makes you family now. Marcus didn't know what to say. Family. The word felt foreign on his tongue, like a language he'd forgotten how to speak. Titan, one of the bikers jogged over, phone pressed to his ear. EMTs are 2 minutes out. You want me to get the van? We're taking them back to the clubhouse. Both of them. Titan's eyes never left Marcus. Both of them. The clubhouse was 20 minutes outside of Blackwater, down a dirt road that didn't show up on any map. Marcus sat in the back of a black van, a blanket wrapped around his shoulders. Emma pressed against his side. She hadn't let go of his hand since they left the crash site. Every few minutes, she'd squeeze his fingers like she was making sure he was still there. "Does your back hurt?" she asked quietly. "A little. I'm sorry." Marcus looked down at her. Why are you sorry?" "Because you got hurt saving me." Her blue eyes filled with tears. "It's my fault." "Hey." Marcus shifted so he could face her. "Look, all at me, what happened to that car wasn't your fault. And me getting hurt definitely wasn't your fault. I made a choice. I saw you needed help, and I helped. That's it." "But why?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "You don't know me." Marcus thought about that. He thought about his mother lying in her hospital bed, too weak to hold his hand. He thought about her voice rough with pain, asking him to promise. "Promise me you'll be brave, Marcus. Promise me you'll help people when they need it." "My mom asked me to," he finally said. "A long time ago, she made me promise to be brave." Is she gone?" "Yeah," Marcus swallowed hard. "Yeah, she's gone." Emma squeezed his hand again. "I'm sorry." "Me too." They rode the rest of the way in silence. The Hells Angels clubhouse wasn't what Marcus expected. He'd imagined something dark and dirty, like the biker bars in movies. Broken bottles, graffiti men with owls and mean eyes. Instead, it looked almost normal. An old warehouse converted into a living space. Pool tables and leather couches. A bar in the corner, a kitchen in the back. Christmas lights strung along the rafters, even though Christmas was still 10 days away. "We keep them up year-round," Emma said, following his gaze. "I like how they sparkle. They're nice. Daddy says they're tacky, but he never takes them down." Marcus almost smiled. Almost. "Maria." A woman emerged from the back, dark hair, sharp eyes, tattoos covering both arms from wrist to shoulder. She moved with the kind of confidence that said she'd seen things done, things survive things. But when she saw Emma, her whole face changed. "Baby girl." She crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled Emma on into a hug. "Oh, thank God. Thank God you're okay." "I'm okay, Mama Maria." Emma hugged her back. "Marcus saved me." Maria looked up. Her eyes found Marcus, traveled over his injuries, his ragged clothes, his bare feet. Something in her expression shifted. "So you're the one," she said quietly. "Yes, ma'am." "Don't call me ma'am, makes me feel old." She released Emma and walked toward Marcus, stopping a foot away. "Let me see your hands." Marcus held them out. Maria took them gently, turning them over to examine the cuts. Her touch was clinical, but not cold. "These need cleaning. And your back Titan said you shielded Emma from the explosion." "It's fine. I'll decide what's fine." Maria looked at Emma. "Sweetheart, go get changed. I left clean clothes on your bed. But I want to stay with Marcus. You can see him after I patch him up. Go on." Emma hesitated, then squeezed Marcus's hand one more time before running off toward the stairs. Maria watched her go, then turned back to Marcus. "Sit down. I'll get the first aid kit." "You don't have to." "Kid," Maria's voice was firm but not unkind, "you just pulled my stepdaughter out of a burning car. The least I can do is make sure you don't die of infection. Now sit." Marcus sat. Maria worked in silence, cleaning his wounds with antiseptic that burned like fire, applying burn cream to his back, wrapping bandages around his hands and arms. She was thorough, efficient, clearly experienced. "You were a nurse," Marcus said. "Not a question." 12 years. Maria didn't look up from her work. "Before I met Titan." "Why'd you stop?" "Life got complicated." She finished it, wrapping it his left hand and started on his right. "You're skinny. When's the last time you ate?" Marcus hesitated. "The truth. 3 days ago, maybe 4. Maria's hands paused for just a moment. Then she continued wrapping. "We'll fix that." You don't have to. Stop saying that. Maria looked up, meeting his eyes. You saved Emma's life. In this club, that means something. It means everything. She finished the bandage and sat back. How long have you been on the streets? 8 months. Family. Mom died 2 years ago. Cancer. Dad left 8 months back. Haven't seen him since. Maria was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. I was on the streets too once. Long time ago. Before I figured things out. She stood up and started packing away the first aid kit. It's hard out there, especially for a kid. I manage. I'm sure you do. Maria looked at him. But you don't have to manage alone anymore. Not if you don't want to. Before Marcus could respond, the front door banged open. Titan walked in, followed by a dozen bikers. Their faces were hard, their movements sharp. Something had changed since the crash site. The relief was gone, replaced by something darker. Anger. Church, Titan said. Now. The bikers filed into a back room. Titan paused at the door and then looked at Maria. Keep him here, this won't take long. Then he was gone and the door slammed shut behind him. Marcus looked at Maria. What's church? Club meeting, officers only. Maria's expression was unreadable. Something's wrong. How do you know? Because I've been married to that man for 6 years. She glanced toward the closed door, and I've never seen him look like that. The meeting lasted 20 minutes. When the door opened again, the bikers filed out in silence. Their faces were stone, their jaws tight. A few of them looked at Marcus as they passed, long measuring looks that made his skin prickle. Titan was the last to emerge. He walked straight to Marcus. We need to talk. Maria stood up. Thomas, what's going on? Not here. Titan's voice was low. My office. He led Marcus down a hallway to a room at the back of the clubhouse. Inside was a desk covered in papers, a wall of photographs, and a leather chair that looked like it had seen decades of use. Titan closed the door and turned to face Marcus. What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room. Marcus nodded. The crash this morning. Titan's jaw tightened. It wasn't an accident. The words hung in the air like smoke. What do you mean? I mean someone cut the brake lines on that SUV. Titan's hands curled into fists. Someone looked at my 8-year-old daughter and decided she should die. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. Who? A man named Vincent Rohrer, goes by Viper. Titan walked to the wall of photographs and pointed at one. A man with cold eyes and a snake tattoo coiling up his neck. He used to be my VP, my second in command, my brother. What happened? Greed happened. Power happened. Titan's voice was bitter. Viper wanted to take the club in a direction I couldn't allow. Drugs trafficking, things we don't touch. When I refused, he tried to take the club by force. He failed. He did. I kicked him out, stripped his patch, took everything. Most men would have crawled away and started over. Titan shook his head. Not Viper. He started his own crew. The Scorpions. Been a thorn in our side ever since. Marcus stared at the photograph. The man Viper smiled back at him with dead eyes. Last week, Titan continued, Viper sent me a message. Said he was going to take everything from me. My club, my family, my life. His voice dropped to a growl. I thought it was just talk. I was wrong. He tried to kill Emma. Yes. An 8-year-old girl. Yes. Marcus felt something shift inside him. Something cold and hard settling into his chest like a stone. What are you going to do? Titan turned to face him. What do you think I'm going to do? Marcus met his eyes. You're going to kill him. Yes, no hesitation, no apology. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to make him pay for what he did, for what he tried to do. Marcus nodded slowly. He should have been shocked. He was 13 years old, standing in a room with a man talking about murder like it was a business decision. But he wasn't shocked. He was angry. What about Emma? He asked. If Viper finds out she survived, he already knows. Titan's expression darkened. One of my men spotted a scorpion watching the crash site this morning. He got away before we could grab him. So Viper knows she's alive, and he knows someone saved her. Yes, which means he might try again. Titan was silent for a long moment. Then he walked to his desk and opened a drawer. He pulled out a photograph and handed it to Marcus. It was a picture of a woman, dark hair, Kind eyes, a smile that looked like sunshine. Her name was Sarah, Titan said quietly. Emma's mother, my wife. Marcus looked at the photograph. She's beautiful. She was. Titan took the picture back, staring at it. She died giving birth to Emma. Complications. The doctors did everything they could, but he trailed off. I'm sorry. Me too. Titan placed the photograph carefully back in the drawer. I've already lost one person I loved. I'm not losing another. Not Emma. Not ever. He turned back to Marcus. That's why I need you. Marcus blinked. Me? You saved Emma's life this morning. You didn't hesitate, didn't think about yourself. You just acted. Titan stepped closer. I've got 30 men in this club. Loyal men, good men, but none of them have what you have. What's that instinct? Titan's eyes bore into his. When that car was burning, everyone else froze. You ran. When Emma was trapped, everyone else watched. You acted. That's not something you can teach, kid. That's something you were born with. Marcus didn't know what to say. He'd never thought of himself as special. He was just a homeless kid trying to survive. Nothing more. I'm not asking you to fight, Titan continued. You're 13. This isn't your war, but I need someone I can trust to watch Emma when I can't. Someone who will protect her no matter what. Someone who won't freeze when things get bad. You want me to be her bodyguard? I want you to be her family. Titan placed his hands on Marcus's shoulders. You've been alone for 8 months, fighting to survive, never knowing where your next meal's coming from or where you'll sleep. He squeezed gently. That ends today. Stay with us. Let us take care of you. And in return, help me keep my daughter safe. Marcus thought about his life on the streets, the cold, the hunger, the loneliness that never went away no matter how many days passed. Then he thought about Emma, her small hand squeezing his, her voice whispering, You saved me. Okay, he said, I'll stay. Titan's face broke into something that might have been a smile. Good. Welcome to the family, Marcus Cole. 50 miles away, in his warehouse on the outskirts of Vegas, Vincent Viper Rourke stared at his phone. The text was simple, she's alive. Some kid pulled her out. Viper didn't move, didn't blink. For 30 seconds, he was perfectly still, like a snake coiled and ready to strike. Then he hurled the phone against the wall. It shattered into 100 pieces plastic and glass scattering across the concrete floor. One of his men flinched, the others knew better. Sir, a biker with a scorpion tattooed on his throat stepped forward. What do you want us to do? Viper turned slowly. His eyes were flat, empty, like a shark's. Find out who the kid is, he said softly. Everything about him. His name, his face, where he sleeps, who he loves. And then, Viper smiled, it was the coldest thing in the room. Then we teach Titan what happens when someone gets in my way. Back at the clubhouse, Marcus stood on the roof staring out at the Nevada desert. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. It was beautiful in a harsh, unforgiving way, like everything else in this place. Marcus, he turned. Emma stood in the doorway, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. What are you doing up here? He asked. Looking for you. She walked over and stood beside him. Maria said dinner's ready. She made spaghetti. I'll be down in a minute. Emma didn't leave. Instead, she slipped her hand into his, her small fingers, warm against his bandaged palm. Are you scared? She asked quietly. Marcus thought about Viper, about the photograph with the dead eyes and the snake tattoo, about the brake lines that had been cut, the fire that had almost killed this little girl. Yeah, he admitted. A little. Emma squeezed his hand. Me too. They stood in silence, watching the sun disappear below the horizon. Marcus, yeah. Thank you for saving me. Marcus looked down at her. This little girl who had no idea how much danger she was in. This little girl who trusted him completely, even though they'd known each other less than a day. Always, he said. I'll always save you. Emma smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her since the crash. Come on, she said, tugging his hand. Spaghetti's getting cold. Marcus let her lead him back inside. Behind them, the desert stretched out into darkness. And somewhere in that darkness, Viper was watching, waiting, planning. The clubhouse was warm and loud and full of people. Bikers sat around a long table passing plates of spaghetti and garlic bread, laughing at jokes Marcus didn't understand. Maria moved between them, refilling glasses, swatting hands that reached for seconds before everyone was served. Titan sat at the head of the table, Emma on his lap, watching the chaos with something like peace on his scarred face. And Marcus sat among them, eating his first real meal in months, surrounded by strangers who had decided he was family. It should have felt wrong. It should have felt dangerous accepting food and shelter from a motorcycle club with a reputation for violence. But it didn't feel wrong. It felt like coming home. "Hey, kid," Marcus looked up. A biker with a shaved head and a scar through his eyebrow was staring at him from across the table. "Yeah, I'm Razor." The man's voice was gruff, suspicious. "I gotta ask you something." The table went quiet. Maria's hand paused over a pot of sauce. Titan's eyes sharpened. "Okay," Marcus said carefully. Razor leaned forward. "You show up out of nowhere, save the president's daughter, and suddenly you're sitting at our table eating our food. That sound convenient to anyone else?" "Razor," Titan's voice was a warning. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Razor didn't look away from Marcus. What if this whole thing was a setup? What if Viper sent him? What if he's a plant? Marcus felt every eye in the room turn toward him. The warmth from a moment ago evaporated, replaced by cold tension. "I'm not working for anyone," Marcus said quietly. "That's what someone working for Viper would say." "Razor, that's enough." Maria's voice was sharp. "No, it's not enough." Razor stood up his chair, scraping against the floor. "I've been with this club for 12 years. 12 years of blood and loyalty. And you're all ready to trust some homeless kid because he happened to be in the right place at the right time. He saved Emma's life." Titan's voice was calm, but his eyes were dangerous. "Or he put her life in danger so he could save it and get close to us." Razor pointed at Marcus. "Did anyone check this kid out? Did anyone verify his story?" "My story," Marcus stood up slowly. His hands were shaking, but not from fear, from anger. "My mom died of cancer when I was 11. I watched her waste away in a hospital bed for 6 months. My dad couldn't handle it, so he crawled into a bottle and never came out. 8 months ago, he disappeared, left me with nothing. No money, no family, no home." He stepped toward Razor, ignoring the bikers who tensed around him. "I've been sleeping behind a gas station for the last 5 months, eating out of dumpsters, wrapping my feet in plastic bags because I don't have shoes. And this morning I heard a little girl screaming for her life, and I ran toward the fire instead of away from it. Not because I was planning some conspiracy, because I couldn't let her burn." Marcus stopped a foot from Razor, looking up at the man who was twice his size. "You want to think I'm a spy, fine, think whatever you want. But I know what I did, and I know why I did it." His voice dropped. "Do you?" Silence. Razor stared at him, his scarred face unreadable. Then slowly something shifted in his expression. The suspicion didn't disappear entirely, but it softened, changed into something like respect. "You've got guts, kid." Razor's voice was quieter now. "I'll give you that." "I've got nothing else." Razor held his gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded once and sat back down. "All right," he said, "but I'm watching you." "Fair enough." The tension broke. Conversations resumed. Someone passed the garlic bread. Maria shot Marcus an approving look as she continued serving. Titan caught Marcus's eye from across the table and gave him a small nod. Marcus sat back down, his heart still pounding. He'd passed the first test, but something told him there would be more to come. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in the small room they'd given him, a bed, a dresser, a window looking out at the desert, and stared at the ceiling. His back throbbed where the burns were healing. His hands ached under the bandages. But it wasn't the pain keeping him awake. It was the memories. His mother's face pale and thin against the hospital pillow. Her voice barely a whisper. "Promise me, Marcus. Promise me you'll be brave." His father's back walking out the door for the last time. The click of the lock. The silence that followed. 8 months of cold and hunger and loneliness, all leading to this moment. This strange, impossible moment where a homeless kid was sleeping in a bed that belonged to the Hells Angels. A sound cut through the darkness. A scream. Muffled but unmistakable. Marcus was on his feet instantly, adrenaline flooding his system. He yanked open his door and ran down the hall toward Emma's room. He burst through her door to find her tangled in her blankets, thrashing, sobbing in her sleep. "Fire!" she screamed. "The fire, Marcus! Marcus!" He dropped to his knees beside her bed and grabbed her hands. "Emma! Emma! Emma, wake up!" Her eyes flew open, wild and unfocused. For a moment, she didn't recognize him. Then something clicked, and she threw her arms around his neck. "You're here," she sobbed. "You're here. I'm here." Marcus held her tight, feeling her small body shake against his. "I'm right here. The fire's gone. You are safe. I dreamed it again. The flames and I couldn't get out, and you weren't there." "I'll always be there." Marcus pulled back and looked into her eyes. "Do you hear me? I'll always be there." Emma sniffed, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Promise?" Marcus thought about his mother, about the promise he'd made to her. "I promise." Emma curled against him, her breathing slowly evening out. After a few minutes, she was asleep again, her small hand clutching his shirt. Marcus didn't move. He sat there in the darkness, watching over her, thinking about everything that had happened and everything that was coming. Somewhere out there, Viper was planning his next move. But Marcus was ready. He'd walked into fire once. He'd do it again. For Emma. For this strange new family that had taken him in. For the promise he'd made. Morning came too fast. Marcus woke to the smell of bacon and coffee, sounds he hadn't heard in years. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then memory crashed back to fire, Emma. The Hells Angels, everything, and he sat up so fast his head spun. Emma was gone. He threw off the blankets and ran to her room. Empty. The bed was made, the curtains drawn. His heart hammered against his ribs as he sprinted down the stairs, bare feet slapping against wood. "Whoa, slow down!" Maria caught him at the bottom of the stairs, steadying him with both hands. "What's wrong?" "Emma, where's Emma?" "In the kitchen eating pancakes." Maria's eyes softened. "She's fine, Marcus. She's safe." Marcus leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. His hands were shaking. "I know what you thought." Maria guided him toward the kitchen. "But you can't protect her if you collapse from exhaustion. When's the last time you slept more than 2 hours?" Marcus couldn't remember. The kitchen was warm and bright, filled with the kind of chaos that only comes from too many people in too small a space. Bikers sat around a long counter, shoveling food into their mouths, arguing about motorcycles and football and things Marcus didn't understand. And in the middle of it all, perched on a stool with syrup on her chin, was Emma. "Marcus!" She jumped off the stool and ran to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "You're awake. Maria made pancakes. Do you want some? They're really good. She puts chocolate chips in them." Marcus looked down at her. 12 hours ago, this girl had been screaming in a burning car. Now she was smiling like nothing had happened. Kids were resilient. He'd forgotten that. "Yeah," he said. "Pancakes sound good." Emma grabbed his hand and dragged him to the counter. Someone slid a plate in front of him, 3 pancakes, bacon, eggs. More food than he'd seen in weeks. "Eat," Maria commanded, "all of it." Marcus didn't argue. He was halfway through his second pancake when Titan appeared. The big man looked tired, dark circles under his eyes, his jaw tight with tension. He'd been up all night, Marcus could tell. "Marcus, my office. 5 minutes." It wasn't a request. Marcus nodded and finished eating as fast as he could. Emma watched him with worried eyes. "Is Daddy mad at you?" "I don't think so." "He looks mad. He looks tired. There's a difference." Emma didn't seem convinced, but she let him go without argument. Marcus walked down the hallway to Titan's office, knocked once and entered. Titan was standing by the window, staring out at the desert. He didn't turn around when Marcus came in. "Close the door." Marcus closed it. "We got intel last night." Titan's voice was flat, controlled. "One of my men has a contact inside the Scorpions. Low-level guy, but connected enough to know things." "What kind of things?" Titan finally turned. His face was carved from stone. "Viper knows about you." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. "What? The Scorpion who was watching the crash site? He saw you pull Emma out. He reported back to Viper." Titan walked to his desk and picked up a piece of paper. "They've been asking questions, trying to find out who you are, where you came from." Marcus's mouth went dry. "Did they find anything?" "Not yet. You're a ghost kid. No records, no family, no address. But Viper's persistent. He'll keep digging." What does that mean for me? Titan set down the paper and met Marcus's eyes. It means you're a target now. Viper sees you as a threat, someone who got in his way. He paused. He's gonna come for you. Marcus had expected fear, had braced himself for it, but what he felt instead was something colder, harder. Let him come, he said quietly. Titan studied him for a long moment. You really mean that? I'm not afraid of some guy with a snake tattoo. You should be. Titan's voice was sharp. Viper has killed people, Marcus. Good people. People who underestimated him. He stepped closer. This isn't a game. This isn't some street fight behind a main station. This is life and death. I know. Titan grabbed at Marcus's shoulder. Because from where I'm standing, you look like a kid who thinks he's invincible. And invincible kids end up dead. Marcus didn't flinch. I've been dead for 8 months. Living on the streets, eating garbage, freezing every night. You think I don't know what death looks like? I've been staring at it since my mom closed her eyes. Titan's grip loosened. Something shifted in his expression. Not pity, Marcus had learned to recognize pity, but understanding. Your mother, Titan said slowly. What was her name? Sarah. Tell me about her. Marcus hadn't talked about his mother in years. The words felt rusty, stuck in his throat. But something about Titan's voice, the quiet patience, the lack of judgment, made him want to trundle. She was a teacher, he said. Elementary school, 4th grade. She loved those kids like they were her own. He swallowed hard. When she got sick, she kept teaching as long as she could. Even when she couldn't stand up anymore, she'd have kids come to our house, help them with homework, read them stories. Sounds like a good woman. She was the best. Marcus's voice cracked. She was everything. And when she died, He stopped, unable to continue. Titan was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled Marcus into a hug, not a quick, awkward hug, a real one, the kind Marcus's mother used to give him, the kind he hadn't felt in 2 years. I know loss, Titan said quietly. I know what it does to a man, how it hollows you out, makes you feel like nothing matters. He pulled back and looked Marcus in the eye. But you're not alone anymore. You understand whatever comes next, you face it with us. Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Good. Titan stepped back. Now, we need to talk about what happens next. He walked to a map pinned on the wall. Marcus recognized the area Blackwater in the surrounding desert with various locations marked in red. Viper's crew operates out of Vegas, but they've got safe houses scattered around the region. Here, here, and here. Titan pointed to 3 red circles. My men have been watching them for months. Normally there's light activity, a few guys coming and going, nothing major. And now there's movement, lots of it. Viper's calling in reinforcements from out of state, building up his numbers. For what? Titan's jaw tightened. For war. The word hung in the air like smoke. He's not going to stop, Marcus said. Is he? No, he's not. Titan turned from the map. Viper's obsessed and has been ever since I kicked him out. In his mind, everything that went wrong in his life is my fault. Taking Emma was supposed to break me, make me weak. Instead, I got in the way. You did more than that. You made him look like a fool. His own plan, his big move against me, and some homeless kid ruined it. Titan shook his head. Men like Viper can't handle that. His pride won't let him walk away. So what do? We prepare. Titan walked back to his desk. I've got men reinforcing the clubhouse, adding security, setting up patrols. No one gets within a mile of this place without us knowing. And Emma, she doesn't leave the clubhouse. Not for anything. Not until this is over. Marcus nodded. What about me? Titan looked at him. What about you? You said Viper's coming for me, that I'm a target now. Marcus straightened his shoulders. I want to help. I want to fight. You're 13. I know how old I am. You don't know how to shoot. You don't know how to fight. You don't know anything about this life. Then teach me. The words came out harder than Marcus intended, but he didn't take them back. Titan stared at him for a long moment. The silence stretched between them, heavy with things unsaid. You remind me of someone, Titan finally said, someone I knew a long time ago. Who met them? Me. Titan's voice was quiet. Before the club, before Maria, before any of this. I was just a kid with nothing to lose and something to prove. He paused. It nearly got me killed a dozen times. But you survived. I did. Barely. Titan walked to a cabinet in the corner of the room and opened it. Inside were weapons guns, knives, things Marcus couldn't identify. You want to learn? Fine, I'll teach you. But you follow my rules, no exceptions. And if I tell you to run, you run. No arguments, no heroics. Understood? Understood. Titan pulled out a handgun and held it up. This is a Glock 19, 9mm, standard carry for most of my men. He ejected the magazine, checked the chamber, then handed it to Marcus. Feel the weight. Marcus took the gun. It was heavier than he expected, solid and cold in his hands. That weapon can save your life or end it, Titan said. Depends on how you use it. First rule, never point it at anything you're not willing to destroy. Second rule, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Third rule, assume it's always loaded, even when it's not. Marcus absorbed every word. We'll start training tomorrow, Titan continued. Basic shooting, hand-to-hand situational awareness. But Marcus, he took the gun back and returned it to the cabinet. The best weapon you have isn't a gun or a knife, it's your brain. You were smart enough to survive 8 months on the streets. Smart enough to save Emma when everyone else froze. Don't forget that. I won't. Titan nodded. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be hard. Marcus turned to leave, then stopped. Titan. Yeah. Thank you for everything. Titan's expression softened just for a moment. Don't thank me yet, kid. We've got a long road ahead. Marcus walked out of the office and closed the door behind him. In the hallway, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, was Maria. How much did you hear? Marcus asked. Enough. Maria pushed off the wall and fell into step beside him. He's going to train you. Yeah, and you're going to fight. If I have to. Maria stopped walking. Marcus stopped, turning to face her. I was against bringing you in, she said quietly. When Titan first suggested it, I argued. Told him you were just a kid, that involving you in our problems would only make things worse. Marcus waited. I was wrong. Maria's voice was firm. I've watched you with Emma, the way she trusts you, the way you stayed with her last night when she had nightmares. She paused. That kind of loyalty can't be faked. She's a good kid. She is, and she needs someone like you. Maria reached out and squeezed his arm. But don't forget you're a good kid too. Don't lose that no matter what happens next. She walked away before Marcus could respond. He stood alone in the hallway, her words echoing in his head. A good kid. When was the last time anyone had called him that? Marcus. He looked up. Emma was running toward him, her blonde pigtails bouncing. Come on, Razor says he'll teach me to play poker. But Maria says I need supervision. She grabbed his hand and pulled. You can be my supervisor. Marcus let her drag him toward the common room, a smile tugging at his lips despite everything. For just a moment, the war faded into the background. For just a moment, he felt like a normal kid. The next 3 days passed in a blur of training and tension. Every morning, Marcus woke before dawn and met Titan in the basement. The space had been converted into a makeshift gym, weights, punching bags, mats on the floor. No windows, no distractions, just work. Titan was a brutal teacher. He didn't coddle, didn't encourage, didn't waste words on praise. If Marcus did something wrong, he made him do it again, and again, and again, until his muscles screamed and his lungs burned and he couldn't remember what it felt like not to hurt. But Marcus didn't complain, couldn't afford to. Every drill, every exercise, every repetition was another step toward being able to protect Emma, toward being worthy of the trust these people had placed in him. On the third morning, Titan handed him a wooden practice knife. Attack me! Marcus hesitated. What? You heard me. Attack me. Try to stab me. Marcus gripped the knife and lunged. Titan sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. A second later, Marcus was on his back, staring at the ceiling, the knife gone. Again! Marcus got up and attacked. Same result. Again. And again and again. 20 times, 30 times. Every attempt ended with Marcus on the floor, gasping for breath, wondering how a man Titan's size could move so fast. Finally, on the 37th try, something clicked. Marcus feinted left, went right, and managed to press the wooden blade against Titan's ribs before the bigger man could counter. Titan looked down at the knife, then up at Marcus. Good, he said. Just that. Just good. But from Titan, it felt like a standing ovation. Take a break, Titan said. 5 minutes. Marcus collapsed onto a bench, sweat dripping down his face. His arms felt like jelly. His legs weren't much better. You're getting stronger. He looked up. Razor was standing in the doorway watching him with an unreadable expression. Thanks, Marcus said cautiously. Razor walked over and sat on the bench beside him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. I owe you an apology, Razor finally said. Marcus blinked. What? That first night, when I accused you of being a plant. Razor's jaw tightened. I was out of line. You were being careful, protecting the club. I was being an ass. Razor looked at him. I've seen the way you train, the way you look after Emma, the way you handled yourself when I came at you. He paused. Most kids would have crumbled. You didn't. Marcus didn't know what to say. I still don't fully trust you, Razor continued. Trust takes time. But I respect you, and in this club respect matters. He stood up and held out his hand. Marcus took it. Razor's grip was iron but not hostile, an acknowledgement between equals. Don't die, kid, Razor said. Emma would never forgive us. He walked away, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts. That night, everything changed. Marcus was in Emma's room reading her a story before bed. It was something they'd started doing on the second night, her idea, not his. She said his voice was calm, that it helped her sleep without nightmares. He was halfway through a chapter when his phone buzzed. Not his phone, the phone Titan had given him that morning. Emergency contact only. Marcus looked at the screen. One word, basement. I have to go, he told Emma. Is something wrong? I don't know, probably nothing. He forced a smile. I'll come back to finish the story, okay? Promise, promise. He ran to the basement. Titan was there along with Razor, Maria, and half a dozen other angels. Their faces were grim. What's happening? Marcus asked. Titan held up his phone. Got a message from Viper. The room went cold. What does it say? Titan read aloud. You took something from me. Now I'm going to take everything from you. Starting with the boy. Marcus's blood turned to ice. There's more. Titan's voice was deadly calm. He sent coordinates. A location outside Vegas. Says if I want to end this, I should meet him there. Alone, Sayo. It's a trap, Razor said immediately. Has to be. Of course it's a trap. Titan set down the phone. But he's got something we need. What? Titan looked at Marcus. Intel. My contact inside the Scorpions went dark 2 days ago. We thought he had been compromised. Turns out Viper took him. Alive. He's using him as bait, Maria said quietly. Yes. So what do we do? Marcus asked. We can't just leave him there. We're not going to. Titan turned to the map on the wall. But we're not walking into Viper's trap either. He started outlining a plan. Marcus listened, absorbing every detail. The meeting point was a warehouse in an industrial district outside Vegas. Viper would expect Titan to come alone, but the angels would position men around the perimeter. Hidden. Waiting. If things go sideways, we hit them hard and fast, Titan said. Get our man out, neutralize Viper's crew. And Viper himself, Razor asked. Titan's eyes went cold. He's mine. The meeting was happening in 3 hours. Marcus watched the angels prepare. Weapons checked and loaded. Vests strapped on. Faces hardening into masks of focus and determination. You're staying here, Titan told Marcus. What? No. This isn't a discussion. Titan's voice was final. Emma needs protection, real protection. If Viper has men watching this place, then Maria and the others can handle it. I should be with you. You've had 3 days of training. 3 days. Titan grabbed his shoulders. I know you want to help. I know you want to prove yourself. But tonight isn't the night. Tonight you stay here and keep my daughter safe. Marcus wanted to argue. Every instinct screamed at him to fight. But he saw the look in Titan's eyes. Not dismissal, not disappointment. Fear. The fear of a father who couldn't be in 2 places at once. Okay, Vestine, Marcus said quietly. I'll stay. Thank you. Titan released him. Maria's in charge while I'm gone. Anything happens, you listen to her there. Understood? Understood. Titan nodded and turned to leave. At the door he paused. Marcus, Yeah, if I don't come back, Titan's voice caught. Take care of her, Emma. She trusts you more than anyone. You're coming back. But if I don't, Marcus met his eyes. I'll protect her with my life. Titan held his gaze for a long moment. Then without another word, he walked out. The engines roared to life. One by one, the motorcycles pulled away from the clubhouse, disappearing onto the darkness. Marcus stood at the window and watched until the last taillight faded from view. Behind him, Maria's voice was quiet. Come on, we've got work to do. They spent the next hour securing the clubhouse, checking locks, monitoring security cameras, making sure every entrance was covered. Maria moved with military precision, barking orders, accepting nothing less than perfection. Marcus was stationed outside Emma's room. His job was simple: don't let anyone through that door. He sat in the hallway with his back against the wall, the gun Titan had given him heavy in his lap. He'd only had one shooting lesson, but Titan had made him practice loading and unloading until his fingers moved automatically. The hours crawled by. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., no word from Titan. 3 a.m., still nothing. Marcus's eyes were starting to droop when he heard it. A sound, faint, almost imperceptible, coming from downstairs. He was on his feet instantly, gun raised. His heart pounded in his ears as he crept toward the stairwell. Maria, he called softly. No answer. He descended the stairs one at a time, each step careful, deliberate. The common room was dark, empty. The security monitors glowed in the corner, showing nothing but static. Static. The cameras had been working an hour ago. Something was wrong. Marcus heard footsteps behind him and spun around. Easy, kid, it's me. Razor emerged from the shadows, his own gun drawn. His face was tense. Someone cut the cameras, Marcus said. I know. Maria's checking the perimeter. Razor moved to the window and peered out. I don't see anything but glass shattered. A canister flew through the broken window and hit the floor, hissing smoke. Get down! Razor tackled Marcus as gunfire erupted outside. Marcus hit the ground hard, the wind knocked out of him. Smoke filled his lungs, burned his eyes. He couldn't see, couldn't breathe. Emma, he gasped. I have to go. Razor shoved him toward the stairs. I'll hold them off. Get Emma and get out. Marcus ran. The smoke was everywhere now, thick and choking. He pulled his shirt over his nose and pushed forward, one hand on the wall, following it toward Emma's room. He burst through her door to find her sitting up in bed, eyes wide with terror. Marcus, what's happening? I heard. We have to go, now. He grabbed her hand and pulled her out of bed. She was wearing pajamas, no shoes, but there was no time. He could hear shouting downstairs, more gunfire, the sound of men fighting. The back stairs, Emma said, her voice shaking. Daddy showed me, in case of emergencies. Show me. Emma led him down a hallway he'd never noticed to a door hidden behind a bookshelf. She pressed something and the shelf swung open, revealing a narrow staircase. They descended into darkness. At the bottom was another door. Emma pushed it open and cold desert air hit Marcus's face. They were outside, behind the clubhouse near the garage. There's a truck, Emma whispered. Daddy's emergency truck. He keeps the keys inside. Where? The garage, third bay. Marcus looked around. He couldn't see anyone, couldn't hear anything except distant gunfire from inside the clubhouse. Stay close to me, he told Emma. Don't make a sound. They crept toward the garage. 20 feet, 15, and a figure stepped out of the shadows, going somewhere. Marcus's blood froze. The man was tall, lean, with a snake tattoo coiling up his neck. His smile was cold and empty and wrong. Viper. Well. Viper's voice was soft, almost gentle. The famous Marcus Cole. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Marcus pushed Emma behind him. Stay back. Or what? You'll shoot me with that little gun, Viper laughed. You're shaking so hard you can barely hold it. He was right. Marcus's hands were trembling, but he didn't lower the weapon. You're supposed to be in Vegas, Marcus said, meeting with Titan. My men are meeting with Titan. I had more important business here. Viper's eyes slid to Emma. Hello, sweetheart. Remember me? Emma whimpered and pressed closer to Marcus. Don't talk to her, Marcus growled. Protective. I like that. Viper took a step forward. But here's the thing, boy. You're out of your depth. You got lucky once. Saved the princess from the fire, became the hero, but luck runs out. So does patience. Marcus steadied his aim. One more step and I pull the trigger. You've never killed anyone. Viper's smile widened. I can tell. It's in your eyes. That hesitation, that fear. He took another step. You don't have what it takes. Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. His mother's voice echoed in his head. Promise me you'll be brave. You're wrong, Marcus said quietly. I'm not afraid of you. He fired. The bullet caught Viper in the shoulder, spinning him around. He stumbled, cursing blood blooming across his shirt. Run, Marcus screamed at Emma. The truck, go! Emma ran. Marcus fired again, forcing Viper to dive for cover. He didn't wait to see if he'd hit anything. He turned and sprinted after Emma, legs pumping, lungs burning. They reached the garage. Emma yanked open the door of the truck and scrambled inside. Marcus dove into the driver's seat, hands searching frantically. Keys, Emma gasped. Visor. He flipped down the visor. Keys fell into his lap. Thank God. Marcus jammed the key into the ignition and turned. The engine roared to life. Hold on. He floored the accelerator. The truck shot forward, crashing through the garage door in an explosion of wood and metal. Behind them, Marcus heard Viper screaming, heard more gunfire, heard chaos. He didn't look back. He just drove. The desert swallowed them whole as the clubhouse disappeared in the rearview mirror. Emma was crying beside him, her small body shaking with sobs. It's okay, Marcus said, his voice steadier than he felt. We're okay, we got out. But Maria and Razor, and they're fighters. They'll be fine. He didn't know if that was true, but Emma needed to hear it. His phone buzzed. Titan's number. Marcus answered with one hand, keeping the other on the wheel. Marcus! Titan's voice was frantic. Where are you? The clubhouse. We got out. Emma's with me. We're heading east on the desert road. Thank God. Titan's relief was palpable. The Vegas meeting was a setup. They hit us hard. We're falling back now. Viper was here, at the clubhouse. Silence. Did you see him? Titan's voice was deadly quiet. I shot him. Marcus swallowed. I don't know if I killed him. More silence. Then keep driving. Don't stop for anything. There's a safe house 30 miles east. I'll text you the coordinates. What about the others? Maria got out. Razor's hurt but alive. Titan paused. You did good, kid. You protected her. Marcus looked at Emma. Her tears had slowed. She was looking at him with something in her eyes that he didn't recognize at first. Trust. Complete and absolute trust. I'll always protect her, Marcus said. He hung up and kept driving. The safe house was a cabin in the middle of nowhere. No neighbors, no roads, nothing but desert and stars. Titan arrived 2 hours later along with Maria, Razor, and a handful of other angels. They were battered, bloody, but alive. Emma ran to her father the moment he walked through the door. Titan swept her up in his arms and held her like he'd never let go. Maria found Marcus sitting on the porch staring at the stars. You saved her, sure, she said quietly. Again. I shot a man. Marcus's voice was hollow. I don't know if he's dead. Does it matter? Marcus thought about it, about Viper's empty eyes, about the fear in Emma's voice. No, he said finally. It doesn't. Maria sat down beside him. The first time is always the hardest. The guilt, the doubt. They never go away completely. She paused. But you did what you had to do. You protected someone who couldn't protect herself. My mom would be ashamed of me. Your mom would be proud of you. Maria's voice was firm. Any mother would be. Marcus didn't answer. He wasn't sure he believed her. But sitting there under the desert stars with Emma safe and the angels gathered around him, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. It was small and fragile and easily crushed. But it was there. And for now, that was enough. 3 days at the safe house felt like 3 years. Marcus couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Viper's face. That cold smile, those empty eyes, the blood blooming across his shoulder when the bullet hit. He'd shot a man, maybe killed him. And the worst part wasn't the guilt. The worst part was that he didn't feel guilty at all. You're thinking too loud. Marcus looked up. Emma was standing in the doorway clutching a stuffed bear that Maria had found in the cabin's closet. Sorry, did I wake you? I wasn't sleeping. She patted over and sat beside him on the floor. I can't sleep either. Every time I close my eyes, I see the fire. Marcus put his arm around her. She leaned into him, small and warm. "We're a mess," he said quietly. "Yeah." Emma was quiet for a moment. "Marcus, are you scared?" "Of what?" "Of Viper, of what happens next." Marcus thought about lying, thought about telling her everything would be fine, that the bad guys always lost, that good always won in the end. But Emma deserved better than lies. "Yeah," he admitted. "I'm scared." "Me too," she squeezed his arm. "But I'm less scared when I'm with you." Something cracked in Marcus's chest, something that had been frozen for a very long time. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "I promise." They sat together in the darkness until Emma fell asleep against his shoulder. Marcus stayed awake, watching the door, listening for sounds that didn't belong. He'd made a promise, and he intended to keep it. Morning brought news. Titan gathered everyone in the main room of the cabin. His face was grim, his jaw tight with tension that hadn't eased since the attack on the clubhouse. "We got word from our contact," he said. "Viper's alive." Marcus's stomach dropped. "I shot him. I saw the blood." "Shoulder wound. Painful but not fatal." Titan's eyes met his. "You hurt him, kid, but you didn't stop him." "What does that mean for us?" "It means he's angry, humiliated. A 13-year-old boy put a bullet in him." Titan shook his head. "Men like Viper can't let that stand. It makes him look weak." "So he's coming for us." "He's already coming." Titan pulled out his phone and showed them a photo. This was taken an hour ago. Scorpions, about 20 of them, heading east on Route 93. "They'll be here by nightfall." The room went silent. 20 men, Razor said slowly. "We've got 8, 9 if you count the kid." "I count," Marcus said firmly. Razor looked at him, then at Titan. "He shot Viper. I'd say he counts." "This isn't a fair fight," Maria said. "We're outnumbered, outgunned. We need to move." "Move where?" Titan spread his hands. "Viper knows our safe houses. He knows our routes. He knows everything because he used to be one of us." His voice hardened. "Running just delays the inevitable." "So we stand and fight," Razor said. "We stand and fight." Marcus looked around the room. 8 people, including himself, against 20 armed scorpions led by a man who wanted them all dead. The odds were terrible, but he'd faced terrible odds before. He'd survived. "What's the plan?" he asked. Titan walked to a table where a rough map had been sketched out. "The cabin has one road and one road out. That's our advantage. They can't flank us, can't surround us. They have to come straight at us." "So we make the road a kill zone," Razor said. "Exactly. We set up positions here, here, and here." Titan pointed to spots on the map. "Overlapping fields of fire. Anyone who comes down that road gets hit from multiple angles." "And if they get through?" Maria asked. "They won't. But if they do," Titan was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at Marcus. "If they get through, Marcus takes Emma and runs. There's a hiking trail behind the cabin that leads to a ranger station about 5 miles north. You get her there, you call for help." "I'm not running," Marcus said immediately. "You are if I tell you to." "Titan, this isn't negotiable." Titan's voice was iron. "Emma's safety comes first. Always. If we fall, she needs someone to protect her. That someone is you." Marcus wanted to argue, but he saw the look in Titan's eyes, the same look his mother had when she made him promise to be brave. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll get her out if it comes to that." "It won't." Titan's expression softened slightly. "We're going to win this, Marcus, but I need to know she's covered no matter what." "She is," Titan nodded. "Good. Everyone else, let's get to work. We've got 6 hours until dark." The next 6 hours were a blur of preparation. They rigged the road with spike strips and tripwires. They positioned vehicles as barriers, creating choke points. They stockpiled ammunition and checked every weapon twice, 3 times, 4 times. Marcus worked alongside the Angels, doing whatever they asked. Carrying boxes, loading magazines, running messages between positions. He wasn't a soldier, but he could follow orders. At one point, Razor pulled him aside. "Here." He handed Marcus a vest. "Kevlar. It won't stop a rifle round, but it'll help with handguns." "Thanks." "Don't thank me. Just don't die." Razor paused. "That little girl needs you, more than she needs any of us. She needs her dad. She needs both." Razor's scarred face was serious. "Titan's a good man, a good father, but he's also a target. Viper won't rest until he's dead. You understand what that means? Marcus understood. If Titan fell, Emma would need someone else. Someone to protect her. Someone to raise her. The weight of that responsibility settled on his shoulders like a physical thing. I understand, he said. Good. Razor clapped him on the shoulder. Now let's go kill some snakes. The sun began to set, painting the desert in shades of red and orange. Under other circumstances, it might have been beautiful. Now it just looked like blood. Marcus was positioned near the cabin's back door with Emma. His job was simple: wait, watch, and run if things went wrong. He had a handgun, extra magazines, and a radio to stay in contact with Titan. Emma sat beside him, her face pale but determined. I'm not scared, she said. I know. I mean, I am scared, but I'm trying not to be. Marcus took her hand. It's okay to be scared. Being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do what you have to do even when you are afraid. Your mom told you that? Yeah. Marcus smiled sadly. She was the bravest person I ever knew. The radio crackled. Titan's voice came through tight with tension. Movement on the road. They're here. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. He tightened his grip on Emma's hand. Stay close to me, he whispered. No matter what happens. I will. The first shots shattered the silence. Marcus listened to the battle through the radio, his body tense, every nerve screaming. He couldn't see what was happening, could only hear the gunfire, the shouting, the chaos. Two down. That was Razor's voice. They're pushing through. Hold the line, tighten again. Don't let them. An explosion cut him off. The ground shook. Emma screamed. It's okay, Marcus said, pulling her close. It's okay, stay with me. Grenade, someone shouted through the radio. They've got grenades, more explosions. More gunfire. The sounds were getting closer. They're breaking through, Maria's voice was strained. North position is compromised. Fall back to the cabin, Titan ordered. Everyone fall back. Marcus stood up, pulling Emma with him. This was it, the moment Titan had warned him about. We need to go, he said, now. But Daddy, he's fighting. We need to let him fight. Marcus looked into her eyes. Trust me. Emma hesitated for one terrible second. Then she nodded. They slipped out the back door and into the darkness. The trail was barely visible in the moonlight, a thin path winding through rocks and scrub brush. Marcus moved as fast as he dared, one hand gripping Emma's, the other holding his gun. Behind them, the sounds of battle faded, but not the fear. How far? Emma panted. 5 miles, maybe less. I can make it. She was flagging already, her small legs struggling to keep up. But she didn't complain, didn't ask to stop. She just kept moving. Titan's daughter through and through. They'd covered maybe a mile when Marcus heard it. Footsteps behind them, getting closer. He pulled Emma behind a boulder and pressed a hand over her mouth. She understood immediately, going still and silent. The footsteps grew louder, stopped. I know you're out here, boy. Marcus's blood went cold. Viper, you think I didn't plan for this? You think I didn't know Titan would have an escape route to? Viper's voice was casual, almost amused. I've been waiting for you. Let my men handle the clubhouse. The real prize is right here. Marcus didn't move, didn't breathe. Come out, Marcus. Make this easy. Give me the girl and I'll let you walk away. You've got no stake in this fight. No reason to die for someone else's daughter. Emma's hand found Marcus's in the darkness. She was shaking. He squeezed her fingers, held them tight. No, Viper laughed. I figured you'd say that. The hero type, always trying to save everyone. His voice hardened. But here's the thing about heroes. They always die in the end. Marcus heard him moving, circling, getting closer. He had to do something. Couldn't stay hidden forever. Emma, he breathed into her ear. When I say run, you run. Don't look back. Don't stop. Just run until you reach the ranger station. No, she whispered. I'm not leaving you. You have to. I won't. Emma, you promised you'd always protect me. You can't do that if you're dead. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to tell her that some promises were worth dying for. But she was right. He couldn't protect her if he was dead. Okay, he said. New plan. We go together. When I say move, we move. Fast and quiet. Emma nodded. Marcus counted to 3 in his head. Then he grabbed Emma and ran. They burst from behind the boulder and sprinted down the trail. Behind them, Viper shouted in surprise. Their gunfire cracked through the night. Marcus felt a bullet whiz past his ear, heard it ricochet off rock. He pushed Emma ahead of him, shielding her with his body. If anyone was going to get hit, it was going to be him. They rounded a bend in the trail and nearly ran off a cliff. Marcus skidded to a stop, grabbing Emma before she went over the edge. Below them was a ravine, deep and dark and deadly. Dead end. He spun around. Viper was walking toward them, gun raised, that cold smile on his face. End of the road, Viper said. Literally. Marcus pushed Emma behind him and raised his own gun. His hands weren't shaking anymore. There was no room for fear, only action. Stay back, he said, or what, you'll shoot me again. Viper touched his bandaged shoulder. That was a lucky shot. Won't happen twice. Try me. Viper stopped about 20 feet away, close enough to talk, too far to rush. You've got guts, kid. I'll give you that. He tilted his head. But you're out of options. No backup, no escape, just a cliff behind you and me in front of you. I've faced worse. Have you, Viper's smile widened. Have you really, I survived 8 months on the streets. Survived a burning car, survived your attack on the clubhouse. Marcus's voice was steady. You're not the scariest thing I've ever faced. Something flickered in Viper's eyes, surprise maybe, or respect. What's the scariest thing then? Marcus thought about his mother's hospital room. The beeping machines, the silence when they stopped. Watching someone I love die, he said quietly, and not being able to do anything about it. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Viper lowered his gun slightly. You're not like the others, the angels. They're all about brotherhood and codes and honor. He spat the last word like a curse. You're different. You're a survivor. What's your point? My point is that you don't have to die tonight. Viper stepped closer. You've got potential, real potential. I could use someone like you. Someone who doesn't freeze when things get hard. Marcus stared at him. You're offering me I'm offering you a life, a better life than sleeping behind gas stations and eating garbage. Viper spread his arms. Power, money, respect, everything you have never had. In exchange for Emma. She's just a girl, Titan's daughter. She means nothing to you. She means everything to me. Viper's expression hardened. And you're a fool. Maybe. Marcus tightened his grip on the gun. But I'm a fool who keeps his promises. He fired. The shot went wide. Viper was already moving, diving to the side. But it gave Marcus the opening he needed. Jump, he screamed at Emma. What? Into the ravine now. Emma didn't hesitate. She grabbed his hand and together they leaped off the edge. The fall seemed to last forever. Wind rushed past Marcus's face. He heard Emma screaming, heard Viper shouting above them. Then they hit water. Cold, shockingly cold. It drove the air from Marcus's lungs and sent needles of ice through his skin. He lost his grip on Emma's hand. For one terrible moment, he was alone in the darkness, tumbling, spinning, not knowing which way was up. Then his head broke the surface. Emma, he gasped. Emma. Here. She was 10 feet away, struggling to stay afloat. The current was pulling them downstream, fast and violent. Marcus swam to her, fighting the water with everything he had. He grabbed her arm and pulled her close. I've got you, he panted. Hold on to me. She wrapped her arms around his neck, clinging to him like a lifeline. The river carried them through the darkness, through rapids that battered them against rocks, through stretches of calm that gave Marcus just enough time to catch his breath. He didn't know how long they were in the water. Minutes, hours, time lost meaning. Finally, the current slowed. Marcus kicked toward the bank, dragging Emma with him. His muscles screamed in protest, but he kept moving. Had to keep moving. They crawled onto solid ground and collapsed. For a long moment, neither of them moved. They just lay there gasping, shivering alive. Marcus, Emma's voice was barely a whisper. Yeah, that was crazy. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. It was a raw, exhausted sound, but it was real. Yeah, he agreed, it was. They lay in silence for a few more minutes. Then Marcus forced himself to sit up. We need to keep moving, he said. Viper might follow. The water. Emma shook her head. He'd have to jump too. I'm not taking that chance. He helped her to her feet. They were both soaked, freezing, battered, but they were alive. That had to count for something. They followed the riverbank for about a mile before Marcus saw lights. A building. Small, but real. The ranger station. Come on, he urged Emma. Almost there. They stumbled toward the building and banged on the door. A moment later, it swung open. A middle-aged man in a ranger uniform stared at them with wide eyes. What in the... Please, Marcus gasped. We need help. There are men trying to kill us. The ranger didn't hesitate. He pulled them inside and grabbed his radio. This is Station 14. I need emergency services and police at my location. 2 kids hypothermic, reporting armed pursuit. Marcus sank into a chair. Emma curled against him. His whole body was shaking, but whether from cold or adrenaline, he couldn't tell. You're safe now, the ranger said gently. Whatever's happening, you're safe. Marcus wanted to believe him. But Viper was still out there, still hunting. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The police arrived first, followed by an ambulance. Marcus and Emma were wrapped in blankets and checked by paramedics while officers took statements. Marcus told them everything. The crash, the Hells Angels, Viper, the attack on the cabin. The officers exchanged looks that Marcus couldn't read. Son, one of them said carefully, you're talking about a motorcycle gang and an attempted murder. This is serious. I know it's serious. That's why I'm telling you. And where are the Hells Angels now? At the cabin, fighting. Marcus's voice cracked. I needed to know if they're okay. I need to know if Titan... His phone buzzed. He'd forgotten he still had it. Forgotten it was waterproof. Titan's number. Marcus answered with shaking hands. Hello. Marcus? Titan's voice was ragged but alive. Where are you? Jose, Ranger Station, about 5 miles north of the cabin. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. You're okay. You're alive. We held them off. Lost 2 men, but we held. Titan paused. Emma. She's here. She's safe. Marcus heard Titan exhale a long, shaky breath full of relief. I'm coming to get you, Titan said. Don't move. Don't trust anyone except the Rangers. I'll be there within the hour. Titan? Yeah. Viper followed us. He was at the ravine. I don't know if He's alive. Titan's voice went cold. My men found his trail. He crossed the river about a mile downstream from where you jumped. So he's still out there. For now, Titan paused. But not for long. I'm ending this, Marcus. Tonight. What are you going to do? Whatever I have to. The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone in his hand. Beside him, Emma had fallen asleep, exhausted beyond her limits. He looked at her small face, peaceful in sleep. She had no idea what was coming. No idea that her father was about to go to war. And Marcus realized with a clarity that cut through his exhaustion that he wasn't going to let Titan face it alone. He'd made a promise to protect Emma, but Titan had given him something even more valuable. A family, and you didn't let family fight alone, no matter the cost. Titan arrived at the ranger station 47 minutes later. Marcus heard the motorcycles before he saw them, that deep rumbling thunder that had become so familiar over the past week. He was on his feet and moving toward the door before the engines even cut off. Titan burst through the entrance like a force of nature. His eyes swept the room once, twice, then locked onto Emma, still sleeping on the couch under a pile of blankets. He crossed the room in 3 strides and dropped to his knees beside her. Baby girl, his voice cracked. Daddy's here. Emma stirred, her eyes fluttering open. When she saw her father's face, she burst into tears. Daddy. She threw her arms around his neck, and Titan held her so tight Marcus thought he might crush her. But Emma didn't seem to mind. She just clung to him, sobbing, while Titan whispered words Marcus couldn't hear. Maria appeared beside Marcus. Her face was pale, her arm in a makeshift sling, but her eyes were sharp. You did good, she said quietly, getting her out, keeping her safe. Viper almost caught us, but he didn't. Maria squeezed his shoulder with her good hand. That's what matters. Marcus watched Titan and Emma, feeling something twist in his chest. He remembered his own father, not the drunk who'd abandoned him, but the man from before. The man who used to carry him on his shoulders, who used to read him bedtime stories, who used to promise that everything would be okay. That man had died long before he walked out the door. Marcus? He looked up. Titan was standing now, Emma still in his arms. His eyes were red-rimmed, but his jaw was set with determination. We need to talk. They left Emma with Maria and stepped outside. The night air was cold, biting through Marcus's still damp clothes. He didn't care. The police want to take over, Titan said. They're calling in state troopers, setting up roadblocks. They think they can catch Viper before he gets out of the county. Can they? No. Titan's voice was flat. Viper knows this desert better than anyone. He's got a dozen escape routes they'll never find. So what do we do? Titan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. I have a contact, someone who owes me a favor. He tracked Viper's phone about an hour ago. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. You know where he is? I know where he's going. Titan pulled out his phone and showed Marcus a map. A red dot blinked on a location about 30 miles west. Old mining complex, abandoned for years. Viper used to use it as a hideout back when he was still with us. He's running. He's regrouping. The men we took out at the cabin were just the first wave. Viper's got more soldiers, loyal ones. They'll be waiting for him at the mine. How many? My contact says at least 15, maybe more. Marcus did the math. After the battle at the cabin, Titan had maybe 6 men left who could fight. 7 including himself. 7 against 15, maybe more. Suicide odds. You're going after him anyway, Marcus said. It wasn't a question. I have to. Titan's eyes burned. As long as Viper's alive, Emma will never be safe. I'll never be safe. He'll keep coming, keep hunting, keep killing until there's nothing left. Then let me help. No. Titan. I said no. Titan grabbed Marcus's shoulders. You've done enough. More than enough. You saved Emma twice. You took a bullet for this family. I'm not going to let you die for us too. It's not your choice. The hell it isn't. Titan's grip tightened. You're 13 years old. You've got your whole life ahead of you. I'm not going to. I don't have anything ahead of me. Marcus's voice was quiet but firm. Before you found me, I was sleeping behind a gas station, eating garbage, waiting to die. That's not a life. That's just existing. Marcus, you gave me something worth living for. A family, a purpose, people who actually care whether I live or die. Marcus met Titan's eyes. I'm not going to sit here while you risk everything to protect that. I can't. Titan stared at him for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. Grief, pride, reluctant acceptance. Your mother raised a stubborn kid, he finally said. She raised a brave one. Titan let out a breath that might have been a laugh. Yeah, she did. He released Marcus's shoulders and stepped back. If you're coming, you follow my orders. No exceptions, no heroics. You stay behind me, you watch my back, and if things go sideways, you run. Understood? Understood. And Marcus, Titan's voice softened. Thank you. Marcus nodded. There was nothing else to say. They gathered what was left of the Angels in a clearing behind the ranger station. 6 men battered and bloody, but still standing. Still ready to fight. Razor was among them, his arm bandaged, his scarred face set in grim determination. 15 against 7, he said. I've seen worse odds. When another biker asked, I'll let you know when I remember. Despite everything, a few of the men chuckled. Gallows humor, the kind that got you through impossible situations. Titan laid out the plan. The mining complex had 3 entrances, main gate service, road emergency exit. Viper would expect them to hit the main gate. Instead, they'd split up. Titan and Marcus would take the service road. Razor and 2 others would hit the emergency exit. The remaining 3 would create a diversion at the main gate. We move fast, hit hard, and get out, Titan said. Primary target is Viper. Everything else is secondary. What about his men? Razor asked. Neutralize anyone who gets in the way. But Viper is mine. I'm the one who ends this. The men nodded, no arguments, no questions. They trusted their president with their lives. Marcus felt the weight of that trust settle on his shoulders. These men were risking everything for a fight that had started because of him. Because he'd pulled Emma out of a burning car. He wouldn't let them down. Maria approached as the men prepared their weapons. You're really going, she said quietly. I have to. I know. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a necklace, a small silver cross on a thin chain. This was my mother's. She gave it to me before she died. Told me it would keep me safe. She pressed it into Marcus's hand. Maria, I can't. You can, and you will. Her eyes glistened. Bring everyone home, Marcus, including yourself. Marcus closed his fingers around the cross. It was warm from her body heat. I'll try. Don't try. Do bye. Maria kissed his forehead. Now go, and be careful. They rode through the desert in darkness, no headlights, following the moonlit road by memory and instinct. Marcus sat behind Titan on his Harley, gripping the seat with numb fingers, his heart pounding in rhythm with the engine. The mining complex appeared on the horizon like a ghost, dark shapes against the starlit sky, abandoned and decaying. Titan killed the engine about half a mile out. The others did the same. From here we go on foot, Titan whispered. Radio silence unless absolutely necessary. Everyone knows their position. Nods all around. Then let's move. They split up. Marcus followed Titan through the darkness, stepping where he stepped, breathing when he breathed. His gun was heavy in his hand, fully loaded, safety off. The service road was narrow and overgrown, barely visible in the moonlight. They moved slowly, carefully, listening for any sound that didn't belong. They were halfway to the complex when Titan held up a fist. Stop! Marcus froze. Voices, head and to the left, at least 2 men, maybe more. Titan pointed at Marcus, then at a cluster of rocks. Cover. Marcus moved silently into position, crouching behind the largest boulder, his gun aimed at the sound of the voices. He watched as Titan melted into the shadows, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for a man his size. 30 seconds passed. A minute. Then 2 sounds in quick succession, wet, muffled thuds. The voices stopped. Titan reappeared, wiping his knife on his jeans. Clear, let's move. They reached the edge of the complex without further incident. Through a gap in the fence, Marcus could see the main building, an old processing plant, 3 stories high. Windows dark, but not empty. Shadows moved behind the glass. Flashlight beams swept across the interior. They're waiting for something, Marcus whispered. For him. Titan nodded toward a vehicle parked near the entrance. An SUV, black engine, still warm. Viper just got here. So we go in. We wait for Razor's signal. They crouched in the darkness, counting seconds. Marcus's legs ached. His hands were cramped from gripping the gun, but he didn't move, didn't complain. Then a burst of gunfire from the far side of the complex. Shouting. Chaos. The diversion. Now, Titan said. They moved. Through the fence, across the open ground, into the building, through a side door that Titan seemed to know exactly where to find. Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay. Marcus followed Titan up a flight of stairs, staying low, moving fast. Above them, he could hear running footsteps, confused shouts. What the hell is happening? We're under attack. How many? I don't know. Somebody. Gunfire cut off the voice. Titan reached the top of the stairs and paused. He listened, then gestured for Marcus to follow. They emerged onto a catwalk overlooking the main floor of the processing plant. Below, men scrambled for cover, firing toward the main entrance, where the other angels had launched their assault. But Marcus's attention was elsewhere. At the far end of the catwalk, standing in front of a metal door, was Viper. He was alone. No guards, no backup. Just him and the bandaged shoulder where Marcus's bullet had torn through flesh. Their eyes met. Viper smiled. Titan, Marcus shouted, but Titan had already seen. He raised his gun and fired. Viper dove through the door, the bullet sparking off the metal frame. Titan sprinted after him, Marcus close behind. Through the door was a corridor, dark and narrow. At the end, another door, this one leading outside. They burst through it just in time to see Viper climbing into a helicopter that had appeared from nowhere, rotors already spinning. No, Titan screamed. He fired again, but the helicopter was lifting off, rising into the night sky. Viper leaned out the open door and gave them a mocking salute. This isn't over, Titan, his voice carried over the roar of the rotors. I'll be back, and next time I'm taking everything. The helicopter banked and disappeared into the darkness. Titan stood frozen, guns still raised, staring at the empty sky. No, he whispered. No, no, no. Marcus felt the weight of defeat crush his chest. They'd come so close. So close. And Viper had slipped away again. We need to move, he said quietly. The fight's not over down there. Titan didn't respond. He just kept staring at the schema. Titan. Marcus grabbed his arm. Your men need you. Emma needs you. We can't stop now. Something flickered in Titan's eyes. Life returning. Purpose. You're right. He lowered his gun. Let's finish this. They ran back into the building, down the corridor onto the catwalk. The fight below had turned into chaos. Angels and scorpions, locked in close combat, gunfire and fists and blood. Titan didn't hesitate. He vaulted over the railing and dropped 15 feet to the floor below, landing on a scorpion and taking him down hard. Marcus followed, hitting the ground in a roll, coming up with his gun ready. A scorpion lunged at him, and Marcus sidestepped but slammed the butt of his gun into the man's temple. He went down and didn't get up. Behind you, Razor's voice. Marcus spun, another scorpion knife in hand, inches away. No time to shoot. Marcus ducked under the blade, grabbed the man's wrist, twisted. The knife clattered to the floor. Marcus drove his knee into the man's stomach, then his elbow into his jaw. The scorpion collapsed. Marcus picked up the knife and kept moving. The next few minutes were a blur of violence. Shots fired, bodies falling, shouts and screams blending into a single roar of chaos. Marcus stayed close to Titan, covering his back, taking down anyone who got too close. And then as suddenly as it had started, it was over. The last scorpion fell. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus looked around. Bodies littered the floor, mostly scorpions, but not all. Two angels lay motionless near the main entrance. Razor limped toward them, blood streaming from a wound in his leg. It's done, he said. They're all down. Not all. Titan's voice was hollow. Viper got away. We'll find him. When he's got resources, connections, he could be anywhere in the world by morning. Then we search the world. Razor put a hand on Titan's shoulder. But not tonight. Tonight we take care of our wounded and honor our dead. Titan closed his eyes. When he opened them, the rage had faded, replaced by exhaustion and grief. You're right. He looked at the fallen angels. Get them out of here. They deserve better than this place. The survivors moved slowly, painfully, gathering their dead and wounded. Marcus helped where he could, carrying his supplies, applying pressure to wounds, doing whatever was asked. As they prepared to leave, Razor pulled him aside. You fought well tonight, Razor said. Better than some men I've known for years. I did what I had to. That's what I mean. Razor's scarred face softened slightly. You're one of us now, kid, whether you like it or not. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. The ride back to the ranger station was somber. They'd won the battle but lost the war. Viper was still out there, still hunting. But when they arrived and Marcus saw Emma running toward them, her face split with relief and joy, he realized something important. They hadn't lost. Not really. Emma was safe. The people he loved were alive, and they'd fought together, bled together, survived together. That meant something. More than Viper, more than fear, more than anything. Emma threw herself into her father's arms. Then to Marcus's surprise, she turned and hugged him too. You came back, she whispered. You promised and you came back. Always, Marcus said. I'll always come back. The next few hours passed in a haze of exhaustion and adrenaline. The police arrived, took statements, collected evidence. The wounded were taken to hospitals. The dead were loaded into ambulances. Through it all, Marcus stayed close to Emma, watching her, protecting her, just like he'd promised. It was nearly dawn when Titan found him sitting on the ranger station's porch, staring at the lightning sky. You should sleep, Titan said. Can't. I know the feeling. Titan sat down beside him. I want to thank you, Marcus, for everything. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Titan's voice was firm. When you pulled Emma out of that car, you changed our lives, all of us. And tonight you proved that you're not just some kid who got lucky. You're a fighter, a protector, a man. I'm 13. Age is just a number. Titan smiled slightly. I've met 40-year-olds with less courage than you. Marcus didn't know how to respond, so he just sat there watching the sun rise over the desert. What happens now? He finally asked. Now we rebuild. The clubhouse is damaged but not destroyed. We lost good men tonight, but others will step up. Titan paused. And we keep hunting Viper. He can run, but he can't hide forever. What about me? Titan turned to look at him. What do you want to happen? Marcus thought about it. A week ago, he'd had nothing. No home, no family, no future. Now he had all three. I want to stay, he said, with you, with Emma, with the club. Even knowing what that means, the danger, the violence, the enemies, even knowing that. Marcus met his eyes. You're my family now, all of you. I'm not walking away from that. Titan studied him for a long moment. Then slowly he smiled. Welcome to the Hells Angels, Marcus Cole. He held out his hand. Marcus took it. They shook once firmly, a bond sealed between them. There's one more thing, Titan said. Something I've been meaning to ask you. What? Your mother, Sarah, you said she made you promise to be brave. Titan's voice was gentle. What else did she tell you? Marcus closed his eyes. He could see his mother's face pale and thin against the hospital pillow. Could hear her voice weak but full of love. She told me that family isn't always blood, he said quietly. That sometimes the people who love you most are the ones you find along the way. He opened his eyes. She told me to find my family and to hold on to them no matter what. Titan's hand found his shoulder. Smart woman. The smartest. They sat together in silence, watching the sun climb higher, painting the desert gold. Behind them, the ranger station door opened. Emma emerged, rubbing sleep from her eyes, her stuffed bear clutched against her chest. Marcus, Daddy. Over here, baby girl. Titan opened his arms and she climbed into his lap. Is it over? She asked. Are we safe? Marcus and Titan exchanged a look. The truth was complicated. Viper was still out there. The danger wasn't gone. But looking at Emma's face, at the hope in her eyes, Marcus made a decision. We're safe, he said. I promise, Victor. Emma smiled, that bright, innocent smile that had become the center of Marcus's world. Good, she said, because I'm hungry. And Maria said she'd make pancakes when we got home. Home. The word hit Marcus like a wave of warmth. He had a home now, a family, a purpose. And no matter what came next, Viper, Danger War, he would protect them. All of them, whatever it took. The sun rose higher, the desert came alive with light, and somewhere in the distance, a hawk cried out a sound of freedom, of survival, of hope. Marcus listened to it and smiled. For the first time in years, he wasn't afraid of tomorrow. 3 weeks passed, 3 weeks of rebuilding, 3 weeks of healing, 3 weeks of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Marcus woke every morning at dawn, his body still trained for survival, even though he now had a bed, a roof, and people who cared whether he lived or died. He'd shower dress and find Emma already waiting for him in the kitchen, her blonde pigtails perfectly braided by Maria, her smile bright enough to chase away any lingering shadows. This was his life now, and every day he had to remind himself it was real. The clubhouse had been repaired. Bullet holes patched, windows replaced, security upgraded. The Hells Angels had buried their fallen brothers with full honors, a ceremony that Marcus would never forget. Titan had spoken about sacrifice, about family, about the cost of protecting what mattered most. Marcus had stood among them not as an outsider but as one of their own. But beneath the healing tension simmered. Viper was still out there. Every day that passed without word of him was another day of waiting, wondering, dreading. Then on a Tuesday morning, everything changed. Marcus was helping Razor repair a motorcycle engine when Titan's voice cut through the garage like a blade. Everyone. Inside. Now. Something in his tone made Marcus's blood run cold. They gathered in the main room, 12 angels, Maria and Marcus. Emma had been sent to her room with instructions to stay there until called. She'd protested, but one look from her father had silenced her. Titan stood at the head of the table, his phone in his hand, his face carved from stone. I just got a call, he said. From Viper. The room went absolutely silent. What did he want? Razor asked. A meeting. Titan's jaw tightened. Just him and me. Face to face, no weapons, no backup. He says he wants to end this. It's a trap, Maria said immediately. Probably. Then you're not going. I have to. Titan looked at her, and something passed between them, a silent conversation that Marcus couldn't follow. He's made me an offer, one I can't refuse. What kind of offer? Marcus asked. Titan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, he has information about Emma's mother. The words hit the room like a bomb. What? Maria's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah's been dead for 8 years. What could he possibly? I don't know. Titan's voice cracked. but he says he knows who was driving the other car, the one that ran her off the road. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Emma's mother didn't die in childbirth. She did. But the complications, the bleeding that killed her, they were caused by a car accident 3 weeks before Emma was born. Titan's hands were shaking. We never found out who hit her. The driver fled, left her bleeding on the side of the road. And Viper knows who it was. He says he does, says he'll tell me if I meet him alone. It's a trap, Razor repeated. He's using Sarah to lure you in. I know. Titan closed his eyes. But what if it's true? What if he really knows that after 8 years I could finally... He stopped, unable to continue. Marcus understood. The need for answers, the desperate hope for closure. He'd felt the same thing when his father disappeared, the questions that never stopped, the wounds that never healed. Where does he want to meet? Marcus asked. The bridge, Old Mill Bridge, about 20 miles north. Tomorrow at midnight. Then we go with you, Razor said. All of us. We stay hidden, but... No, Titan's voice was firm. He was specific. I come alone or he disappears. Forever. You can't trust him. I don't. Titan looked around the room, meeting each pair of eyes in turn. But I trust all of you to have my back if things go wrong. What's the plan? Maria asked. I go to the bridge. You wait 1 mile out, ready to move if I give the signal. He paused. Marcus, I need you to stay here. With Emma. No. The word came out before Marcus could stop it. This isn't a request. I don't care. Marcus stepped forward. The last time you told me to stay behind Viper attacked the clubhouse. He almost got Emma. If I hadn't been there, you saved her, I know. So let me save her again. Let me be there. Titan stared at him for a long moment. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. He's right, Razor said quietly. The kid's proven himself. And if Viper's planning something, we need everyone we've got. Titan's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes shifted. Fine, he said. You ride with Razor, but you stay back unless I call for you. Understood? Understood. Titan nodded once. Then get some rest. Tomorrow night this ends, one way or another. Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. Tomorrow night, midnight. The confrontation that had been building since the moment he'd pulled Emma from that burning car. He thought about his mother, about the promise he'd made her, about the family he'd found against all odds. A soft knock at his door made him sit up. Come in. Emma slipped inside, her stuffed bear clutched against her chest. Her eyes were red-rimmed. I couldn't sleep, she whispered. Me neither. She padded across the room and climbed onto his bed, curling up beside him like a small, frightened animal. I'm scared, Marcus. I know. What if something happens to Daddy? What if nothing's going to happen to him? Marcus put his arm around her. Your dad is the toughest man I've ever met, and he's got the whole club behind him. But Viper is a coward who attacks little girls and runs away when things get hard. Marcus's voice hardened. He's nothing compared to your father. Emma was quiet for a moment, then she asked, will you protect him like you protected me? Marcus looked down at her, this little girl who had changed everything, who had given him a reason to live when he'd had none. I promise, he said. Cross your heart. He made an X over his chest. Cross my heart. Emma smiled, small and trembling, but real. Okay, I trust you. She fell asleep a few minutes later, her head on his shoulder, her breathing slow and even. Marcus stayed awake, watching the shadows on the wall, thinking about promises and family and the cost of keeping both. Tomorrow night, one way or another. The next day crawled by like a wounded animal. Marcus spent the morning training with Razor, hand-to-hand combat knife work, tactical positioning. His body ached, but he pushed through. There was no room for weakness. Not tonight. In the afternoon, Maria found him cleaning his gun at the kitchen table. You're good at that, she observed. Practice. She sat down across from him. I want to give you something. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small photograph. Marcus took it, frowning. It was a picture of a woman, young, beautiful, with dark hair and kind eyes. She was laughing at something off camera, her whole face lit up with joy. Who is this? Sarah, Emma's mother. Maria's voice was soft. Titan gave me this years ago, told me to keep it safe. Why are you showing me? Because I want you to understand what you're fighting for. Maria leaned forward. Dro was the love of Titan's life. When she died, a part of him died too. Emma is all he has left of her. I know. No, you don't. Not really. Maria's eyes glistened. When you saved Emma, you didn't just save a little girl. You saved everything Titan has left to live for. You saved his reason to keep going. Marcus stared at the photograph, at Sarah's laughing face, at the joy that had been stolen from this family. I won't let her down, he said quietly. I won't let any of them down. Maria reached across the table and squeezed his hand. I know you won't. Midnight approached like a storm on the horizon. The angels assembled in the garage, 15 strong, armed and ready. They moved in silence, checking weapons, adjusting gear, exchanging nods that said everything words couldn't. Titan pulled Marcus aside just before they mounted up. I need you to understand something, he said. Whatever happens tonight, you've already changed my life, and Emma's life. You gave us hope when we thought we'd lost everything. Titan, let me finish. Titan gripped his shoulder. If something goes wrong, if I don't make it back, I need you to take care of her. Raise her. Be the family she deserves. Nothing's going to happen to you. But if it does, Marcus met his eyes. If it does, I'll protect her with my life. Just like I promised. Titan nodded slowly. That's all I needed to hear. He turned and walked toward his motorcycle. Marcus watched him go, feeling the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. This was it. They rode through the darkness in formation engines, rumbling headlights, cutting through the night. Marcus sat behind Razor, gripping the seat, his heart pounding. 20 miles felt like 20,000. When they reached the staging point at a clearing about a mile from Old Mill Bridge, the Angels killed their engines and dismounted in silence. Razor handed Marcus a radio and a pair of binoculars. Keep your eyes on the bridge, he whispered. Anything goes wrong, you radio us immediately. What about Titan? He's going in alone, just like Viper wanted. They watched as Titan mounted his bike and rode toward the bridge. His taillights disappeared around a bend, and then he was gone. Marcus raised the binoculars and focused on the bridge. He could see Titan's bike approaching, slowing, stopping. A figure emerged from the shadows on the other side. Viper. Even from this distance, Marcus could make out the snake tattoo, the predator's stance, the cold smile that haunted his nightmares. The two men faced each other across the bridge. Neither moved. Then Viper raised his hand, and the bridge exploded with light. Headlights, a dozen of them. Vehicles emerging from the darkness on both sides of the bridge, surrounding Titan, cutting off any escape. It's a trap, Marcus screamed into the radio. Move now! The Angels erupted into motion. Engines roared to life. Marcus jumped on behind Razor and they tore toward the bridge. But even as they rode, Marcus knew they were too late. Viper's men were already closing in on Titan. He could see them through the binoculars, armed, dangerous, moving, with lethal purpose. And then impossibly, Titan started laughing. Marcus couldn't hear it, but he could see it, Titan's shoulders shaking, his head thrown back. He was laughing in the face of death. Viper's expression changed. Confusion replaced confidence. Titan reached into his jacket and pulled something out. A detonator. He pressed the button. Explosions ripped through the vehicles on both sides of the bridge. Fire bloomed in the darkness. Men screamed, scrambled, fell. He knew, Razor shouted over the engine. The crazy bastard knew it was a trap. Titan had come prepared. The Angels hit the bridge like a wave. Gunfire erupted. Bodies fell. The chaos was absolute, overwhelming, terrifying. Marcus jumped off the bike before it even stopped, his gun already in his hand. He saw a scorpion raising a weapon toward Razor and fired. The man went down. Nice shot, Razor yelled. There was no time to respond. Another scorpion came at Marcus from the side. He ducked, rolled, came up shooting. 2 bullets center mass. The man collapsed. Through the smoke and flames, Marcus spotted Titan. He was fighting hand-to-hand with 2 scorpions, taking them apart with brutal efficiency. A knife flashed. A body fell. Then another. But Viper was nowhere to be seen. Marcus scanned the chaos, searching, desperate. Where was he? Where there? At the far end of the bridge, climbing into a vehicle that had survived the explosions, running away. Again. Not this time. Marcus sprinted after him, dodging bullets, leaping over bodies. His lungs burned, his legs screamed, but he didn't stop. Viper saw him coming. Their eyes met across the chaos. The cold smile returned. Viper raised his gun and fired. Pain exploded in Marcus's side. He stumbled, fell, hit the ground hard. Blood soaked his shirt warm and wet. He'd been shot. The world tilted. Sound became muffled. He was vaguely aware of someone screaming his name, Titan Razor, but it seemed very far away. Viper walked toward him, gun still raised. Persistent little rat, Viper said. I should have killed you that first night. Marcus tried to lift his gun, but his arm wouldn't cooperate. The weapon slipped from his fingers. Any last words? Viper's smile widened. Maybe something for the girl. I'll be sure to give her your message. Right before I take her away from everything she loves. Emma's face flashed through Marcus's mind. Her smile, her laugh, her small hands squeezing his. Promise me you'll be brave. With every ounce of strength he had left, Marcus grabbed the knife from his belt and threw it. The blade buried itself in Viper's throat. For a moment, nothing happened. Viper just stood there, eyes wide, mouth open in shock. Then he crumpled. His body hit the ground 3 feet from Marcus, blood pooling beneath him. His eyes glazed over. His chest stopped moving. Dead. Marcus lay on his back, staring at the sky, feeling his own blood seep into the ground. So this is how it ends, he thought. At least I kept my promise. Darkness crept in at the edges of his vision. Marcus, Marcus. Hands on his face. Titan's voice breaking with fear. Stay with me, kid. Stay with me. Emma, Marcus whispered. Tell Emma. You're gonna tell her yourself. You hear me? You're not dying tonight. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to say that it was okay that he'd done what he promised, that Emma would be safe now. But the darkness was too heavy, too warm. He closed his eyes and let it take him. The next thing Marcus knew, he was floating. Not literally floating, he was in a hospital bed pumped full of painkillers, his side wrapped in bandages. But that's what it felt like he was drifting on a cloud disconnected from his body. You're awake. He turned his head. Titan was sitting beside the bed, dark circles under his eyes, his face gray with exhaustion. How long? Marcus croaked. 3 days. You lost a lot of blood. Had to operate twice. Titan's voice cracked. They said you might not make it. But I did. Yeah. Titan reached out and gripped his hand. Yeah, you did. Viper. Dead. You killed him. Titan's expression was unreadable. They found the knife still in his throat. Marcus closed his eyes. He'd killed a man, taken a life. He'd known it was coming, had known since the moment that he pulled the trigger that first time, but knowing and doing were different things. I had to, he said quietly. He was going to hurt Emma. I know. Titan squeezed his hand. You saved us all, Marcus. Every single one of us. The others. Razor took a bullet in the arm. He's already complaining about the hospital food. Titan almost smiled. We lost 2 more brothers, but it could have been worse. Much worse. The information Viper had about Sarah. Titan was silent for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. We found this in his jacket. Names, dates, details. His voice was rough with emotion. The driver who hit Sarah, he was one of Viper's men. It wasn't an accident. It was a hit. Marcus felt his blood run cold. Viper killed Emma's mother. He ordered it, back when he was still my VP, before everything went wrong between us. Titan's hands trembled. He wanted to hurt me, weaken me. He knew Sarah was my everything. Does Emma know? Not yet. I need to find the right words. Titan looked at him. But when I tell her I want you there, you're part of this family now, Marcus, for better or worse. I'll be there. The door burst open. Emma came flying into the room, her face streaked with tears, her blonde pigtails disheveled. Maria was right behind her, trying and failing to slow her down. Marcus! She threw herself onto the bed, wrapping her arms around his neck, sobbing into his shoulder. They said you might die. They said, I'm okay. Marcus hugged her back, ignoring the pain in his side. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere, sir. You promised. Emma pulled back, her blue eyes fierce despite the tears. You promised you'd always protect me. I did. But who protects you? The question hit Marcus like a punch to the heart. Who protects you? In all his life, no one had ever asked him that. No one had ever cared enough to wonder. You do, he said softly. All of you. That's what family means. Emma stared at him for a moment. Then she hugged him again, gentler this time, careful of his wounds. I love you, Marcus, she whispered. You're my brother now, forever. Brother. The word wrapped around his heart like armor. Forever, he agreed. Recovery was slow. The bullet had nicked his liver, causing internal bleeding that had nearly killed him. The doctor said he was lucky to be alive. Marcus didn't feel lucky. He felt exhausted, sore, and frustrated by how weak his body had become. But he healed. Day by day, week by week, he got stronger. The angels visited constantly. Razor brought him comic books and taught him card tricks. Maria brought homemade meals and fussed over his bandages. Other bikers men whose names he was still learning came to pay their respects, to thank him, to welcome him as one of their own. And Emma was there every single day. She'd climb onto his bed and read him stories, or show him drawings she'd made, or just sit quietly beside him while he slept. Her presence was a constant reminder of why he'd fought, why he'd almost died, why it had all been worth it. 1 month after the battle on the bridge, Marcus was finally discharged from the hospital. Titan drove him home. What a word to the clubhouse. The entire club was waiting for him. They stood in formation in front of the building, leather vests gleaming in the sunlight, faces serious and proud. As Marcus climbed out of the truck, they began to clap. Not scattered applause, but a unified thunder that shook the air. Marcus stood frozen, overwhelmed. Titan guided him toward the formation. At the front, on a small table, lay a leather vest. Marcus Cole, Titan said formally, you came to us as a stranger, a homeless boy with nothing but courage and a good heart. In the weeks since, you've saved my daughter twice. You fought beside us, bled beside us, nearly died beside us. He picked up the vest and held it out. Today, by unanimous vote of the Nevada chapter, I officially name you a prospect of the Hells Angels. This vest represents our trust, our respect, and our commitment to you. Marcus stared at the vest, at the patches sewn onto it, at the Death's Head logo that had once terrified him. I don't know what to say, he managed. Say you'll accept it, Titan said. Say you'll be part of this family. Marcus looked around at the faces watching him. Razor scarred and Fierce nodding with approval. Maria, tears streaming down her cheeks, smiling through them. The other Angels men who had once been strangers, now brothers. And Emma standing at the front of the crowd, her face shining with joy. I accept, Marcus said. He took the vest and put it on. It fit perfectly. The crowd erupted in cheers. Men surged forward to clap him on the back, to shake his hand, to welcome him into the fold. Emma ran to him and hugged him so tight he thought his healing wound might reopen. You're one of us now, she said. Really one of us. I always was, Marcus replied. I just didn't know it yet. That night there was a celebration. Music blared from speakers, food covered every table. Laughter echoed off the walls of the clubhouse. For the first time since Marcus could remember, the air was light, free, joyful. He stood on the balcony overlooking the common room, watching the chaos below, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Deep thoughts. Maria appeared beside him, 2 bottles of water in her hands. She offered him one. Just thinking, Marcus said, about everything, nothing. He took a sip of water. A month ago, I was sleeping behind a gas station. Now I'm wearing a Hells Angels vest and living with people who'd die for me. Life is strange that way. Is it always like this, the club? I mean, the violence, the danger. Maria considered the question. There are quiet times, months where nothing happens and we're just a bunch of bikers who like motorcycles and barbecues. She paused. But the danger is always there. Under the surface, part of the life. Does it ever scare you? Every day. Maria looked at him. But I stay because of love. Because Titan is my home. Because Emma needs me. She smiled. And now, because of you. Marcus didn't know how to respond. The idea that someone would stay in danger because of him, would choose him, was still foreign. Still hard to believe. Thank you, he said finally. For everything. For taking me in. For treating me like family. Maria put her hand on his shoulder. You are family, Marcus. You earned that. Never forget it. She walked away, leaving him alone with his thoughts. Below, Emma had climbed onto a table and was leading a group of bikers in some kind of line dance. Titan watched her with a smile that transformed his entire face, softer, younger, full of love. This is what I was fighting for, Marcus thought. This moment, these people, this feeling. He'd spent so long surviving that he'd forgotten what it meant to live. Now he remembered. Later that night, long after the party had wound down, Marcus sat on the roof of the clubhouse with Emma. The desert stretched out before them, vast and dark, dotted with the lights of distant towns. Above the stars blazed with a brilliance that city kids never got to see. Marcus, Emma's voice was sleepy. Yeah. Do you think your mom is watching from wherever she is? Marcus thought about his mother, her warm hands, her soft voice, her final words. Promise me you'll be brave. Yeah, he said. I think she is. Is she proud of you? I hope so. Emma snuggled closer to him. I bet she is. I bet she's really, really proud. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Emma asked, what happens now? What do you mean, now that Viper's gone? Now that you're one of us? She looked up at him with those big blue eyes. What happens next? Marcus thought about the question, about the future stretching out before him, uncertain, unpredictable, full of possibilities he had never imagined. I don't know, he admitted, but whatever it is, we'll face it together. Promise? Promise, Vishwama smiled, that bright, innocent smile that had become the center of his universe. Okay, she said, then I'm not scared. Neither am I. And for the first time in his life, Marcus meant it. 6 months later, Marcus stood in front of a mirror, adjusting his vest. He'd grown in that time. Not just physically, though, he'd gained muscle, lost the gauntness of starvation, but in other ways. Confidence, purpose, a sense of belonging that he'd never thought possible. Today was the day, his official initiation as a full member of the Hells Angels. The vote had been unanimous. Every single brother had raised their hand for him. Razor had cried, though he'd deny it to his dying day. Even the members who'd been suspicious at first, who'd wondered if a 13-year-old kid could really be one of them, had come around. He'd earned their respect, their trust, their love. You ready? Titan appeared in the doorway. Born ready. Titan smiled. Your mother would be proud. I know. Marcus turned from the mirror. Let's do this. The ceremony was held in the main room of the clubhouse with every member present. Marcus walked through the crowd to the front where Titan waited with the final patch, the one that would complete his vest and make his membership official. Marcus Cole, Titan said, his voice carrying through the silent room. 1 year ago, you were a homeless boy with nothing. Today you stand before us as a brother, a protector, a man. He held out the patch. Do you swear to uphold the code of the Hells Angels, to protect your brothers, defend the innocent, and stand against all who would threaten our family? I swear, Marcus said. Do you accept this patch as a symbol of our bond, our trust, our love? I accept. Titan pressed the patch into his hands. Marcus looked at it, the death's head, the Nevada rocker, the symbols of a life he'd never imagined living. Then he looked up at the faces around him. Razor grinning through tears, Maria clutching her hands to her heart, Emma bouncing with excitement. These people had saved him. Not just from the streets, not just from hunger and cold, but from himself. From the emptiness that had threatened to consume him. They had given him a family, and he would spend the rest of his life being worthy of that gift. Brothers, Titan raised his voice, I present to you Marcus Cole, full member of the Hells Angels. The room exploded with cheers. Men rushed forward to embrace him, to pound his back, to welcome him as one of their own. Emma fought her way through the crowd and launched herself into his arms. You did it, she screamed. You're really one of us now. I always was, Marcus said, echoing his words from months ago. I just didn't know it yet. Later, after the celebration had quieted down, Marcus found himself alone on the roof again. He thought about everything that had happened. The fire, the rescue, the battles, the blood, the loss, the love. A year ago, he'd been Marcus Cole Nobody, invisible, forgotten. Now he was Marcus Cole brother, protector, family. His mother's voice echoed in his memory. Promise me you'll be brave. Promise me you'll help, but we'll help people when they need it. Promise me you'll find your family. I did, Mom, he whispered to the stars. I found them. The door opened behind him. Titan walked out and stood beside him. Big day, Titan said. Yeah. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Titan reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. I want you to have this. It was the picture of Sarah. Emma's mother, laughing beautiful alive. Why you crying? Marcus asked. Because you're a part of this family now, and she would have loved you. Titan's voice was rough with an emotion. She always believed in second chances, in people finding their way home. Marcus stared at the photograph, at the woman who had died before Emma ever knew her, at the love that still burned in Titan's eyes after all these years. Thank you, he said, for everything. Thank you, Titan replied, for saving my daughter, for saving me. They shook hands. Then, because handshakes weren't enough, they embraced, father and son, not by blood but by choice. And sometimes Marcus realized choice was stronger than blood. Emma appeared in the doorway, her stuffed bear in her arms. Are you guys having a moment without me? Wouldn't dream of it, Marcus said. Get over here. She ran to them and they folded her into their embrace. Three people who had found each other against all odds. Three people who had become a family. I love you guys, Emma said. Love you too, baby girl, Titan replied. Marcus didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His presence, his arms around them, his heart beating alongside theirs, that said everything. The stars blazed overhead. The desert stretched out into infinity. And somewhere Marcus knew his mother was watching, smiling, proud. He'd kept his promise. He'd been brave. He'd found his family. And he would protect them, all of them, for the rest of his life. Not because he had to, because he chose to, because that's what family meant. The next morning, Marcus woke to the smell of bacon and the sound of Emma's laughter. He got dressed, pulled on his vest with his patches, and walked downstairs to join his family for breakfast. Titan was at the stove. Maria was setting the table. Razor was stealing pieces of bacon when he thought no one was looking. Emma was chattering about a dream she'd had, something about flying motorcycles and talking dogs. Normal, chaotic, perfect. Marcus sat down at the table surrounded by the people he loved, and he knew with absolute certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The homeless boy who ran into fire had found his home, and nothing, not danger, not fear, not the darkness of his past, would ever take that away from him. This was his family. This was his life. This was his story, and it was only just beginning.